Hello guys, we're extremely happy to welcome you today to our first episode in the series Voices of CIVICA podcast. And we're sitting today here at SGH, Warsaw School of Economics, and we're honored to start this series as this project is co-created by 6 member schools of CIVICA Alliance. And very soon you will hear from them as well. And my name is Anna.
My name is Filip Szewczuk, and today we would like to introduce our special guest, Dr. Marcin Wojtysiak-Kotlarski.
Hello, Professor. Yes.
Hello, it's really a pleasure. Thank you for having me here for this podcast.
Thank you so much for coming.
Professor, could you give us a couple of words of introduction? What is your area of research and what is your role in the SGH community?
I've been associated with SGH Warsaw School of Economics for 32 years now. So I started here as a student and I continued my career, if you like. So I did my master here and also PhD and habilitation. So this is like the path that academics follow in our system in Poland. And for the last 15 years or so, my research and teaching has been focused on startups, entrepreneurship, and also international business. So this is my domain, and it will be a pleasure during this conversation to share with you some insights, some experience that I have. I am very fascinated with this world of startups, and I hope that we could touch some topics during this conversation.
Yes, thank you so much for coming. So with no further comments, we'll proceed on our topic. And as we're going to talk about the unicorns today and the difference in European ecosystem and US ecosystem and around the globe, we would like to start with some vital questions. And I think it's really important for the audience to understand what are unicorns. And could you please briefly define us? What are unicorns and maybe how important are they for the society and why every country wants to have as much unicorns as possible?
Thank you very much. So this is a great question, like for the beginning of this conversation. So first of all, like for us scholars, we will often have some, challenges to define, to precisely define some topics, some phenomenon, right? It's quite difficult to define economic phenomena, right? So we may think that it's easy, but it's not. So startups are technology companies. They usually get born in some startup ecosystem, like Silicon Valley, for example, and they have a goal to grow quickly. So startups want to achieve as high valuation of the firm as possible. This is the goal of founders, right? They start the business. Unicorn, it's a term which is for unicorns, for startups that have valuation higher than $1 billion American dollars, right? So that's some dream of founders to achieve this, right? However, now we see that valuations of startups get bigger and bigger and bigger. So we even have decacorns or hectocorns, which are companies that have valuation of 10 billion American dollars or 100 billion, right? So, and now in the world, we have around 1,400 unicorns. So that's the number, but it has grown significantly over the last years, right? So like 10 years ago, the number of unicorns was a lot lower. So it could be like 50 of them probably. So we see this development. Yeah.
And how, as for you, why is it really important for a country to have as many unicorns as possible?
Yeah, thank you. So this is like the second part of the question. Now when we look at the world map of unicorns, right, we see that there is one leading country, and this is United States of America. They are able to produce the biggest number of unicorns in the world. So many economists are of opinion that this is proving the strengths of the economy, right? So if the economy of a given country is able to produce unicorns, is like an environment where unicorns get born, then probably this economy is also strong, right? And for Poland, there's been a lot done in recent years to support entrepreneurs, to support the startup scene, right? So there is a lot of programs and funds which are directed to that area of the economy.
Okay, thank you, Professor. Could you tell us a bit about how it looks in terms of global sectors and leading countries when it comes to the startups enterprise?
Yes, of course. So this is somehow related to the previous answer. Yes. So we see that United States of America is a leading market of unicorns, but there is countries that follow. Mm-hmm. And now the biggest competitor on the market for the American unicorns or for the American startup ecosystem is China. So China is growing. They are able to produce unicorns as well. Then India. This is the third country in the world with regard to the number of unicorns. And then some other countries follow, like United Kingdom or Germany, for instance. Interestingly, we also see some small countries which have relatively low populations, which generate a lot of unicorns per capita. And there is two most famous examples of such countries. This is Estonia and Israel. Small populations, relatively big number of unicorns. So some experts claim that we should somehow observe what Estonia or Israel is doing, because probably there is some inspirations that we can collect, right?
That's really interesting. And can you, for example, specify a trend that is ongoing in the startups enterprise now?
Yes, yes. So this is about the markets or focus areas, right? What yes. do startups do?
Exactly.
So the very visible trend recently is that more and more startups get involved in AI. I know that this is like a big buzzword, and we probably talk a lot about it at SGH here or at universities of our CIVICA Alliance. But I tell you about how it looks like. So that's the truth. And even now, when we look at the biggest unicorns in the world, so we would look at their valuations, right? So the biggest startup right now, the biggest unicorn is OpenAI. And OpenAI has this very famous product, ChatGPT, and they have valuation of like 500 billion American dollars, right? Now some people probably are warning us that the financial results of OpenAI are not as good as expected, but nevertheless, AI is the most important trend. However, we also see other like focus areas. Another important area is finance. So we do see fintech companies, you know, startups that offer some innovations with regarding to financial services, and also other. I think that one of the most interesting areas is space. So, you know, you must have heard about SpaceX. Yes. It's one of the, you know, startups from portfolio of Elon Musk. So quite many founders are of opinion that the next step will be like startups exploring, you know, the space. So this is very interesting, I believe.
Yes, and could you please give us any examples of the unicorns from Europe?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so, well, Europe is a little bit lagging behind, right? So it means that the competition is very hard on the market, and it seems to me that European unicorns are, well, there is fewer number of them, generally speaking, but we can give examples of, I can give example of two unicorns from Poland, for instance. One is, for instance, Dog Planner. There is a very famous application here in Poland, which is called Znany Lekarz, and this is part of what they do. So, but they also act internationally on different markets. So this is probably an interesting example.
Okay, thank you so much. So we would like to proceed to a next section of our podcast, and we would like to talk more about Silicon Valley, as we know that you recently visited Silicon Valley, so
Yes.
we think that it's nice to get first-hand experience. And we would like to ask, what are your reflections after your visit? Maybe you could tell us more of how it works, the mindset of the Silicon Valley.
Well, I am smiling a little bit because I cannot hide that I am a big, I am very passionate about what's going on in the United States of America in terms of startups and entrepreneurship. This is really, it's been inspiring me for the recent years. And I believe that it could inspire us also, even if we do not plan to be founders. So there is some general, insights which could be interesting. But yes, so Silicon Valley is so great because this is the most important place in the world for founders. The history of Silicon Valley is not very long because it was born like maybe less than 100 years ago. Of course, it's not easy to say the precise date, but it's been a relatively short history. But Silicon Valley has become like the epicenter of the global economy, because all biggest companies in the world got born there. Like they are no longer startups, like Apple, for instance, or Alphabet, and they were born there. So and now it's home to biggest unicorns, right? I would like just to draw our attention to a couple of thoughts about Silicon Valley. One, I would like to stress importance of universities, right? So look,
Yes.
universities are source of talent for startups, right? And in the Silicon Valley, we have a couple of universities, but two biggest one. And here I want to mention Stanford University and also University of California, Berkeley. And the first one is private university. Berkeley is public university, and they are able to develop startup ecosystems around on campuses, right? So, for instance, I had this opportunity to be part of SGH delegation. We were there in December last year, and I remember huge openness of everybody there. Look, this is incredible. I think that it's somehow different from what we experience here in Europe. We are relatively more conservative. We probably are a little bit, I don't want to say shy, but probably a little bit
Introverted, maybe.
yes, this is a good word. Thank you very much. Whereas in the States, like everybody wants to talk to you.
Yeah.
They are so open, and this is part of the mindset that they have. And we will probably be talking more about it, but mindset is so important. Everybody wants to talk to you. People are not afraid of anything. They want to experiment. They want to try. They are prepared to commit mistakes. Probably, there is this famous motto about Silicon Valley that it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think this is vital phrase.
Do we like failures? Probably not that much,
Not
right?
that much.
We want to achieve success, probably. I mean, I talk about an average person,
Yeah.
but in the USA, it's okay to fail. You can make mistake because if you can share your story that you committed, that you made some mistakes, that you failed a couple of times, it means for others that you learned.
Yeah.
Which is so important, right? So, I mean, the role of universities, openness of people, and also like incredibly vivid startup scenes. Like, it was quite interesting for me to understand that the public university, University of California, Berkeley, has the strongest student accelerator in the world. It's not Stanford. We can maybe, I think about doing some research about it. I talk about SkyDeck. This is SkyDeck acceleration program, so successful. And so we can, I mean, there is a lot of those inspirations that we can collect. I just mentioned a couple of them.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. I find it really interesting to compare actually United States to our Europe, and when it comes to the startups. Can you mark down any other differences between USA and Europe? For example, in the funding or how the USA is basically supporting the venture capitals?
Thank you very much. Very good question. Yes. So, again, I have to say that United States of America is the strongest country with regard to venture capital firms, right? And venture capital firms, of course, these are those professional organizations which are able to identify interesting startups and then support them, right? So now in the world, we have two biggest brands of venture capital firms. They are both from Silicon Valley, and it's Sequoia Capital and Andreessen Horowitz. So like the most powerful venture capital firms in the world. In Silicon Valley, there is a very famous road. It's called Sand Hill Road. And there you see headquarters of all those biggest venture capital firms. It's very interesting to note this. Europe is not like that, right? Of course, there is a growing scene of venture capital firms, like even here in Poland, we do see professionalization of venture capital business, but still, I do see the American market really leading the world in that field. And I can give one more example to support this observation. So when you talk to founders and they are looking for support, they are looking for money, many of them dream of having partners in the American ecosystem, right? Because they are more powerful. Probably if you cooperate with the leading venture capital firm from the Valley, the higher the chances are that you will become a unicorn. So, you know, but of course, I don't want to like underestimate what's happening in Europe, what's happening in Poland. I simply want to present some fair view on this. So.
And do you think this could be also somehow connected to what you mentioned earlier about the attitude toward the failure, as maybe people there and people who are in this venture capital system, they're more open towards making mistakes, and maybe in Europe people are more afraid of doing these mistakes, and maybe they're more afraid of investing and supporting some risky projects?
Yeah, this is also a very good question. So maybe I will share with you two thoughts on this. So one, I remember I have watched some interesting interview a couple of years ago, and it was an interview with Vinod Khosla. Vinod Khosla is one of the gurus and mentors for the whole venture capital world, and he also founded Khosla Ventures, which is one of the leading venture capital firms. So he is in the business. Like 30 years ago, he was executive member of Sun Microsystem. So this was a leading IT company back then, but it was like 40 years ago. And now Vinod Khosla is telling everyone that that one of the most important questions that he would ask a prospective founder would be, tell me about your failures. Tell me about what you did wrong in your life, right? So this is very counterintuitive to what we would think, right? So this is one point. And so there, it's again about mindset, right? They have different. We need to learn this mindset as Europeans, as Polish people. It will take some time, we are doing a good job and we are progressing, but still the gap is there. That's first part of the answer. And another would be, I do see a role of Wall Street and the role of American economy as a whole, because venture capital firms in Silicon Valley are so powerful financially because they are part of a wider ecosystem of the American economy. So we don't have Wall Street in Europe. So that's a point which I want to make, because look, we have founders, we have students, bright people, bright minds, we have new startups, but then they need money and they need support. And they also try to make like wise decisions, right? I mean, it's a little bit of those topics which I mentioned now.
Okay, and we would like to move to another point in the difference. So maybe, as you mentioned about universities, that you know, the university bring up really talented people, and it's all about the mindset and culture. However, from my practice, as I had my education only in Europe, I would say that people study hard, and the universities ourselves are great. So maybe you could give us some insights on how do you think is Europe lagging behind in terms of this entrepreneurial culture within universities in this term, or is it the question of the talent and skills that we are not getting compared to US?
So, well, it's probably not an easy question to answer, but I will try to do my best. So first of all, with regard to talent pool, I believe that, of course, we should not be ashamed of anything. We see so many bright students at SGH, at our partner universities within the CIVICA Alliance, and across Europe. So no doubt that students from our country or our continent can do anything, right? So this is one point. I would like to encourage you. I mean, all students, you really have to be bold. You really should not be afraid of anything. You know, in the startup world, there is this wonderful motto, impossible is nothing. So you can achieve anything, right?
Yeah, it's wonderful.
This is really so much part of the mindset in the US, right? They live it. For them, it's very natural. So I believe that we still need to learn it, right? So, but I would like to, I try to promote this mindset, teaching students, for instance. I believe it's so important, right? But with regard to what we know and what our skills are, our competences, of course, we can do everything. I mean, students from Europe. And again, you can give some precise examples, right? So, look, when I was in Silicon Valley last December, we had opportunity to meet Mr. Łukasz Kaiser. He is from Poland, and he is member of the research team of OpenAI. And he was talking to us like what they do. And so he is a Pole working for the biggest unicorn in the world. Now, we can give other examples, right? So
That's a thing to be proud of.
Of course, I was very proud, and we should be proud. I mean, look, we can achieve anything.
Yeah.
And Jakub Pakocki, just to give another example, is head of the researchers in OpenAI. He is from Poland. I mean, and of course, many more nationalities from Europe. So it's really very optimistic, I believe. However, we are from Europe, we are from Poland, and probably we also want to pay attention to our startup scenes, right? So maybe it's well, not maybe. I think that we should also do a lot to develop startup scenes in Poland. So let's dream and visualize a moment when the biggest unicorn in the world will be from Poland and will be located in Poland or in Stockholm or in London, right? So that's it's possible, I think.
Yeah, of course. And Talking about the Poland and Stockholm, what do you think about the size of the country? Does it really matter, as US has this huge market already, so it has a lot of potential customers, and Europe is quite big as well, but as we are in EU, you know, every country has their own culture. And do you think this market fragmentation at some point can also influence the speed of development of and scaling of unicorns?
Well, I don't think so. So I think that, look, if I was a partner in venture capital firms and you students were founders, and you approached me with your business idea and you are pitching, right? So you want me to be interested in your project. And imagine that you tell me, well, our market for our product will be Poland and just this country. So it's a completely different answer if you to that if you told me we want to act globally, right?
Yeah.
So what I want to say, look, it's very important. Of course, some entrepreneurs, I think that they make a mistake because they develop their business with such an assumption that they will just act locally. Whereas the best practice in the world of startups is let's scale up the business globally.
Yeah.
So because only then, I mean, or probably then, we can achieve those high valuations. And this is how this market works. So phrasing it a little bit different, the big insight, the big inspiration here is, the big tip is develop your business globally from scratch. So many startups are sort of born global companies, right? So of course, there could be some rollout. You could start with one market, but your plan is, I mean, that's the logic, which is, that's what investors like.
Yeah, because
That's how it works, right?
as it will probably also bring higher money eventually as you have more customers.
Of course,
Yeah.
because look, how it works. So you start the business. There is founders who start thinking about the startup, and then the business is growing. If they do a good job, I mean, because sometimes it will go bankrupt and many startups fail. But imagine a situation that you grow and you want to, I mean, the big success is that your company is going public. So there will be the initial public offering, or you will be acquired by some other firm. So these are two most famous options to exit, right? Sorry for using a couple of words which are very specific to the startup scene, but you will exit. So you do the IPO, or you get acquired by some other company, and that's what you want to achieve, right?
Yeah.
So if your business model is global, then probably higher the valuation and higher the chances are that there is going to be some successful exit, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yes, and exactly a question about just the global giant tech companies that function in the world. Why do you think that even though that there are a lot of innovative small firms in Europe, but compared to China and the USA, why doesn't Europe have this many big tech companies?
Yes, this is really great question.
What is the reason of the struggle of the Europe?
I mean, look, a couple of thoughts about this question. So first of all, it's quite a complex question again, right? So sometimes it's difficult to answer. This is one of those questions. So, but look, I remember it was probably year 2011. I was doing some scholarship at Cass Business School in London, and I attended interesting events, and one of them was one of the members of parliament from United Kingdom, and they were explaining this challenge, right? So why United Kingdom is not able to produce the next Google, right? What should we do? So it's not just problem of Poland. It's a common problem, like you say, across Europe. Yes. And look, and since then, not many things changed, right? So still,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm from Europe, so I keep my fingers crossed for European startup scene. But still, America is very much ahead, right? So what is the reason for that? Well, there is many, but I think that well, there is this very famous global startup ecosystem report. It's published regularly annually, and Silicon Valley is all the time number one. So, I mean, they are so strong. They are so much ahead. It's difficult to compete. It's really, I mean, it's there's been so many countries and bright people who were thinking how to copy it, how to transfer all those inspirations from California to other places. It's not easy. It's not. I believe that still Silicon Valley is attracting the talent pool, and it's also very strong financially with regard to those backing opportunities. So
Yeah, and also probably that the system was already operating for so long.
Yes.
It's hard to create it from scratch, and it takes time, I think.
They pioneered this.
Yeah.
However, when we talk about it now, I think that I would like to emphasize something that is important, because it may seem that I am a little bit pessimistic about what's happening in Europe, which is not true. But I would like to draw our attention to the fact that Silicon Valley developed that well because it was supported by American government. It's not just market. It's not just market forces, So what I try to say is that I believe it's wise that we do see European Commission or governments of member states in European Union which try to support entrepreneurs, which try to support startup ecosystem across Europe in different countries. I believe it's wise, but probably it must take some more time.
Yeah.
Because we are very young as Europe with regard to startup ecosystems, right?
And as we already touched this topic of Europe, maybe you could expand more on what are the strengths of Europe in terms of unicorns, as we have the skills, and as you mentioned, there are a lot of European citizens who are working in these unicorns. So maybe you could briefly describe what are the strengths of Europe and what are the struggles, as maybe the regulations of the European Union could limit us, or the mindset.
With regard to strengths, I think that, again, maybe I will repeat it one more time during this conversation, but I think that the talent pool in Europe is really a big asset, right?
Yeah.
As for now, we do see many people working for startups also internationally, like in the USA, but this is, I believe, the biggest strength, right? And we can develop on this, right? It's an important starting point. I think that still we need to learn and upgrade. We could be inspired by Americans with regard to student acceleration programs and accelerators in business schools. And there is different approaches to that across business schools here, but it's an area where we can still develop, I believe, right? Because student needs support, right? We have so many bright students. You guys are incredible with regard to the dynamism, to your ideas, to what you know. This is really something, right? But you need support, and in some schools, I think that there is probably a little bit. It's not enough attention being paid to entrepreneurial part of the ecosystem on the campus, right? So in the US, it's very typical. That's what they do. That's part of their DNA, you know.
And what do you think about the regulations? As Europe is famous for its strict regulations concerning environment, for example, or any policies. Do you think it also has an influence on the...
I think it has a lot of influence, and I believe that this is one of those topics which we really need to look at and be wise with regard to. Of course, it's easy to say that there is too much regulation and we need deregulation, and then the economy will be booming, right? But of course, it will be it will be too easy to say like this. However, I think that's what I see across the world. It really is important. So look, if you develop your startup, you need to focus on the business model. That's what you should do. And probably if there is like a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of, you know, laws that you must comply with, of course, it's important to comply with laws and regulations. However, the most important thing is to focus on the business model, to grow the firm, to scale it up. That's what founders would like to, you know, focus at.
Okay.
Yes.
And this can probably be a very broad and complex question, but if you were to redesign the whole Europe from the scratch when it comes to the venture ecosystem, what would be the things that you would change first? And do you think that are the more crucial to change in the Europe?
Well, thank you for this question. I mean, look,
Probably a tough one.
That's a tough one.
Yes, but this is really a very good question, and look, I think that for the startup ecosystem, some very important thing is networking, right? So you may think it's like, okay, networking, what is really that? I mean, probably you guys think that it's not important, but it really is. I mean, it's at the very core of startup mindset, I would say. I remember when I first visited some startup event, it was back then in London, some 15 years ago, and I entered a room. It was not very big, but it was very crowded. It was like packed with people, probably 200.
Wow.
Yeah, and what I experienced back then is that people started approaching me very fast. I was, you know, for the first time, I was something very new to that environment. They wanted to get to know me. They wanted to understand who am I, things like that. So very open, very, you know, everybody wants to talk to you. They want to understand what you are doing. And I remember there was 2 presentations during that meeting. One was about Airbnb. You know, it was a startup, and it was...
Back then it was a startup.
Back then it was a startup,
Okay.
so it was very, like, interesting.
The rest is the history.
Exactly. And also the business model canvas, which is a very important framework for startups. It was presented there.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, very interesting topics, and this audience, people want to talk to you. And look, in the startup world, the bigger your network, the better.
Yeah.
The bigger your network, the better. And what is more, because I am slowly coming to your question, and the bigger the better, and the more international, the better.
Okay.
So I think that when we think about the future of our universities, which could support startups, I believe in internationalization, right? So the more international our universities, our communities, the bigger the chances are that we can sort of benefit from this network in the future, right? So, and also, I encourage my startup students to develop their networks, to have friends in different countries, to travel.
Yeah.
So this is, look, mindset of a founder is very global. It's not local. The more global it is, probably the better.
Yeah.
Because you need to understand the world. You develop a product for the world. And somehow our universities also function for the world. I mean, this is, I believe it's something new. Look, it's not a common viewpoint,
Yeah.
I believe. But that's what I could learn from the world of startups, right?
I think we can slowly see that mindset is just the number one just factor in the startup, just the way of a person is thinking and is open to networking, and just I think mindset is really the number one reason we are
I think
discussing.
it's somehow it could be part of the conclusion of this workshop, of this discussion here, because it's really true. It's really true. And look, and that's why this startup world is so fascinating, because it's far different from the world of, you know, like incumbents, huge corporations. Like, they usually struggle to have this mindset, right?
And how do you think about China, as they're the second country who has the most amount of unicorns? What about their mindset? As they're not maybe introverted as Europeans, but of course US has their own unique. Do you maybe know some insights or anything concerning this?
Yes, I do. I would like to give two examples and to tell you two stories which are related to this question. One, it's really fantastic. I mean, I would like to say that a lot of Chinese people get educated in the US. That's the first point.
Okay.
So they somehow learn this mindset, and then a lot of them return to China. There is a sort of policy of the Chinese government it's somehow expected. We could explore this topic, and I can tell you one story. So, and Chinese people are also, they have a lot of bright minds, right? So,
Study close, yes.
yes, and one story is really resonating with me a lot, and it's the story of Professor Fei Li. She is probably, well, she is like top 5 scholar in the world that develops AI. She works at Stanford University right now, but she's from China. And her story is, you can listen to a lot of YouTube interviews, or you can read the book, which was written by her. And it's about her life. She got born in China. It was a relatively poor family, and then they migrated to the US. She hardly knew any word in English, so she was like, and she was a teenager. And then she was so bright that she got scholarship at Princeton University.
Okay.
And did her degree in physics. And you must have heard about Geoffrey Hinton, one of the most recent laureates, Nobel laureates in physics. She was supporting him, and they were doing a lot of research together. So this is, again, it's about China. So it's about how they can learn the mindset, but it's also about this Silicon Valley motto that impossible is really nothing, right? So I mean, it's very much inspiring me. And also another story about China is that they have very strong universities right now.
Yeah.
So we do see an increasing number of publications which are recognized internationally, and we do see the growing higher education scene in China. Now Chinese universities are higher and higher in the rankings of world universities. So I mean, this is what we experience right now. So that's probably one of the reasons why China is number 2 in the world in unicorns, right?
Which is very interesting, because I think that also Asia overall, with Korea and Japan, they have very high standard universities. It's very hard to get there, and I've heard that it's very hard to study, so probably they also facilitate maybe hard work in this way somehow, and so that students can not give up on what they're doing. And if we combine this mindset from US, as you say, and this hard work, I think that also can contribute to this. And,
exactly.
Yeah.
If I could just add one point to this, because you mentioned this hard work. I mean, this is, look, I want to add a couple of sentences about the Silicon Valley mindset, but because it's not just that you can dream big and, achieve anything, but you also need hard work. So this is part of that mindset, right? It is not happening by accident. You need to be working hard. You need to know what you are doing, right? So this meritocracy, we would say, right? So this will matter. Yes, and it's so important, right? So
Yes, most definitely. And I would like to ask next question. So as we're coming back to the Europe, as we're now here, how do you think with all the factors that Europe now have and with the talent that we have and with smart people and skills, what could be the things that we can do to facilitate the creation of unicorns, or what could be our next steps as, for example, young people in Europe to kind of help to boost this system?
well, so I think that it will probably take a couple of more years till our startup ecosystem in Europe gets mature enough in comparison to the USA ecosystem, to Silicon Valley. But what we see now is that some founders, some startups go to the US because there is not enough capital here in Europe. So if they look for a lot of money, then it's a lot easier to find it in Silicon Valley, right? So in other words, I think that mature startup scene is also a scene where you have strong venture capital firms who are able to back founders, who are able to provide them with money, right?
Yeah.
Because, in the startup world, we talk about those mega rounds. So these are like funding rounds where really startups acquire a lot of money, need a lot of money, and many of those mega rounds happen in the US, right? So, I mean, I want to stress the importance of very financially powerful venture capital firms also in the US.
What could be done maybe as for you to boost the creation of these firms in Europe, or maybe we already have them, but people are just too afraid to take risks?
Yes. So first of all, we do see countries supporting venture capital scene, if you like. So there is some schemes which are developed where public money is supporting the development of venture capital firms and the market as a whole. So I believe it's a good direction. But we need to be cautious as well, because it's easy to spend public money, probably, but you need to pay attention to the results, right? So if you spend like a lot of money and then there is no unicorns on the market, probably some red lights should
Appear.
should be there, right? Because look, we are all taxpayers, right?
Yes, of course.
So we are interested in, we should be interested in like wise approach to spending public money, right? So that's important element here, I think.
Okay. And coming back to perspective of students, which are the audience of our conversation, what do you think universities can do to just encourage and boost the venture, the startup ecosystem?
Yes.
And what is, do you know from your own experience, what is being done at, for example, SGH, from experience?
Yes. So at SGH, we, for instance, do competitions for students, and you guys are able, you can develop some ideas for a startup. So, for example, I talk about business model canvas competition, right? So, and it's a good approach. It's how you start promoting those ideas, those startup ideas across our community, right? Because if we take example of SGH, Warsaw School of Economics, for instance, like historically, it was more a school which was preparing students to careers in corporations, financial sector or in public institutions, right? Government. But it's been changing for many years now. So we somehow try to promote more and more this entrepreneurial mindset across students, right? So we can do it in the form of this business model canvas competition. We also, I can give an example of some student mini acceleration program that I did together with University of Nevada, Reno, together with my colleagues, right? So, for instance, we allowed our best founders, best students to go to Nevada and California, so West Coast entrepreneurial ecosystem of the USA, so that those people could get immersed in that ecosystem. And it's really a sort of mind-blowing experience, right? Because you quite quickly can understand the differences. Like I started talking about it before, this openness, And I remember that when we sent this cohort of our, student founders to the US, there was a meeting with mentors at University of Nevada, Reno. And look, it was such a big pleasure for me to watch that conversation. Because, mentors are usually people who have a lot of experience. They are older than students. So like people with gray hair and, in their 60s or even 70s. And you had with them young students. And it was really a sort of a very professional conversation. And both parties respected each other that much. So look, it was really something.
Which is interesting because I know that also at Warsaw School of Economics here, we have this mentorship program.
Yes.
I have some friends who are taking part, and they told me that it's very beneficial for them as they get this support and insight from people from the industry. So I think that at Warsaw School of Economics, at least, we're doing some stuff to boost this maybe.
Yes, of course. And you mentioned mentoring. We mentioned mentoring. So this is like networking. Mentoring is also so important.
Of course.
Look, probably sometimes young people tend to be like, okay, I know all the answers. I will not be listening to those who are older than me. But even during my classes with students about startups, I promote this idea that mentoring is very important, right? Because oftentimes those who are older than you are simply more experienced.
Yeah.
So it's really valuable to listen to them, to consider what they are telling you, right?
Yes.
Because you don't necessarily have to follow and do anything that they will tell you, but it's wise to listen and to consider this, right?
Yes. And what I really think that is worth to mention is that there's a lot of student organizations that function in SGH, and it's a great opportunity for students to cooperate with each other and create, for example, projects like hackathon competitions, which are really focused on startups and creating just business ideas. So
exactly. So, well, I very much thank you that you mentioned about it, because here at SGH, we are so proud of our student organizations. And I can proudly say that probably 6 years ago, I was a speaker at the very important conference organized by AACSB, which is a leading global like higher education professionals. It's an accreditation body as well. And I was talking about this ecosystem of student organizations in the USA. And it was really a big inspiration for American business schools, because we are unique at SGH.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, really. We have like almost 70 student organizations in our school. And like you say, it's an opportunity for students to develop entrepreneurial skills as well.
Yes, of course.
To practice teamwork, right? And
because a lot of those organizations are functioning just like a business, because we have people who manage funds, people who manage corporate partnerships,
exactly.
sale, marketing. It's basically like functioning like a small business,
like a startup.
like a startup.
Like a
exactly.
startup,
Yes.
right? So-
yes. Exactly.
Yes, exactly. So it's very important to to mention it. I fully agree. So this is another way how you can develop this
Yes.
entrepreneurial ecosystem. This is probably our way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Professor. This was the last question, and it's time to wrap up this discussion. Thank you so much for your participation and your words of insight. And just to conclude our discussion right now, could you give a couple of words of advice for us students, how to, for students who are thinking about starting their venture into startups, and basically a couple of advices for students how to start the venture?
First of all, I would like to really, from the bottom of my heart, to thank you for this invitation to this podcast. It was really a pleasure for me to share with you some experience that I have. Probably I will not be it will not be something new, but I would like to forward to you the words of Steve Jobs. Because, you know, Steve Jobs founded Apple, and he is probably the #1 figure, like an icon for founders, for entrepreneurs. So he once had a commencement speech at Stanford University, and he told to students, there was a couple of valuable thoughts, but one of them was, follow your heart and intuition, right? So this is one thing. Another thing that I wanted to say is be bold. So don't be afraid, right?
Yeah.
And you guys really are great, and you can achieve anything, right? So this is the big message. And also, my field of interest is startups, entrepreneurship, and international business. So I would also like to take this as an opportunity to promote somehow this domain, those fields, because some business schools tend to focus more on corporations, you know, on big money and big finance. But this startup world is really great, and it can inspire us. And so I would like to invite you to entrepreneurship classes, to startup courses, and if I could do something more to the CIVICA Alliance with regard to those topics, you can count on me.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor.
It was a pleasure for us. Thank you again.
Thank you.